Morning, everybody. I'm Michaela Nelson. I sit in our Science, Innovation and Technology division, and I'm looking at digital connectivity across the transport network. Digital connectivity is already an integral part of the UK's transport network. It's currently delivered very, very modally, but it is integral to everything that we do across transport. There's lots of different stakeholders, and if you can think of a communications technology, it is probably in use somewhere across the transport network. We're using all of the Gs, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. We're using lots of different areas of spectrum. We're using Wi-Fi, LoRaWAN, neutral host networks. We're using satellites. Honestly, if you can think of a communications technology, we are probably using it somewhere. But that makes actually looking at what we want to do going forward quite difficult because it's a patchwork quilt of different technologies and services and lots of different stakeholders. But as I said, it is really integral to what we do, but we don't tend to think about digital connectivity unless it doesn't work. It's so much part of our day-to-day life that we expect it to be there and expect it to be working, and we really don't think about it or notice it until suddenly you go to try and send a message to somebody or make a phone call and you haven't got any connectivity, or you're connected to a Wi-Fi network that doesn't seem to be connected to anything else. You know, I'm sure all of us have had the experience of trying to work on a train, and there just isn't enough connectivity to do what you want to do. But you know, our railways are using a 2G system called GSMR for voice and data. In the next decade or so, that's going to need to be upgraded to a 5G system, and that's called FRMCS, a Future Rail Mobile Communication Service. We're using fixed copper and fibre infrastructure across the transport network for everything from traffic lights to train signals. We're using it for CCTV, emergency telephones, and lots of other applications. We've got lots of safety critical communications in aviation and maritime and on the rail network. They use dedicated frequencies. We're using satellites and fixed infrastructure and terrestrial and non-terrestrial infrastructure for that. And a growing number of applications are reliant on mobile network operators' networks. So for things like e-call, again, traffic lights can run off 4G and 5G signals. Parking enforcement, lots of times when you go to, I don't have an EV, but if you want to charge your EV, you need an app and you need connectivity in order to be able to make payments. So yeah, it's integral. There's lots of different things going on across the network. But we know that there's much more that we could do with improved digital connectivity on the transport network. We're looking at vehicle to everything communications or intelligent transport services. We kind of use those terms interchangeably. We know that there's lots of opportunities there to connect vehicles to infrastructure and infrastructure to vehicles, but it needs connectivity in order to do that. We know that electronic communications are becoming a fundamental enabler of port operations in the UK. We've seen some really great examples in Belfast Harbour of what can be done with good 5G connectivity on that harbour estate. Automating things, using that for predictive maintenance, using the connectivity for drone monitoring of infrastructure. Drones have the potential to unleash a lot of a big impact on the UK's economy if we can get that right. And again, we know from where we have actually put in digital train controls that we can increase the capacity on very tight bits of network by up to 40%. We can run trains more closely together, which means we can run more trains per hour and carry more passengers if we have good digital communications on a rail network. And again, there's new technologies and new opportunities coming online. Non-terrestrial networks were something that was just kind of considered for aviation and maritime, but they are coming into the mainstream. Vodafone have made a video call earlier this year or perhaps late last year, using a non-terrestrial network direct to a mobile device. We've got 5G standalone. I think we've been talking about 5G for quite a long time, but 5G standalone really will feel quite different to the non-standalone that we have now. And for industries like transport, there are a lot of opportunities there by slicing networks and making sure that you've got a really guaranteed quality of service. Again, spectrum and infrastructure sharing is becoming very mainstream. So we've got things like, if you've travelled on the Underground in London, you're getting good mobile connectivity now on lots of the lines. That's all shared infrastructure, that's neutral host networks, and that's becoming a really mainstream way of delivering better connectivity. And we've got our 5G innovation regions are really demonstrating some of these across the United Kingdom, which is great to see. And apart from the technology, I think our social expectations are ever increasing. Passengers expect connectivity. We really only notice it when it's not there, but when it's not there, it's really annoying. Integration needs connectivity. So DFT are looking at how we can better integrate transport. And a key thing to that will be reliable real-time data, but you can only get that if you have connectivity in place. And then emerging innovations will expect connectivity. So lots of what we're doing around AI and digital twins, it underpins the access to the data to make all of those things possible, is having that digital connectivity in place on the transport network to provide that real-time, reliable data for our AI and for digital twins. And of course, we've got new use cases on the horizon. I think the three big ones that we're looking at are going to be drones, vehicle to everything communications, and that new 5G service that the railways are going to need to be upgraded to. So the CAA are looking at command and control links for drones. So that will connect your remote operator with the drone and with potentially with air traffic control services. So that command and control link needs to be robust and reliable to enable beyond visual line of sight operation of drones. And again, relevant to most people in this conference, I think, is that V2X communication, vehicle to everything. It is ultimately dependent on having that connectivity in place. But the big one for us at DFT is going to be this upgrade to the railways. So at the moment they run on a 2G system. It's a private network. Network Rail Telecoms are essentially the mobile operator for that network. But that does need to be upgraded to a 5G network. 2G is a very old and obsolete technology. It's not as secure as 5G networks. And the manufacturers of the equipment don't want to make it anymore because there's very few places where they can use it. But there are opportunities here if we think about how we deliver that new service. There are opportunities to support better passenger connectivity and potentially even offer better connectivity to other parts of the transport network and other isolated places in the UK. So lots of our mainline rail runs through agricultural land. Farmers and the agricultural industry are really thinking about what they could do with better connectivity, whether that's connected cows or just making sure that having automated vehicles that can run overnight and do the harvesting while everyone's sleeping. But as I said, FRMCS could be delivered in a number of different ways. So at the moment, GSMR is a private network. We could do the same again. We could deliver it using a private slice for mission critical communications on a mobile network operator. So that's what our new emergency services network, that's how that will operate. It will operate as mission critical services on the EE network. Or we could use this sort of neutral host approach that's been applied in London on the Underground. There's lots of different ways we could deliver it, and it's really important that we at DFT are thinking about that now so that we can make the most out of this opportunity, because it's going to be expensive. And if we're spending taxpayers' money, we have to do that well, and we have to do it in the most efficient way. And that's why I am going to be working on delivering a transport telecoms plan. We're going to be considering what are the public policy goals that we want to implement and that digital connectivity could deliver. We're going to be looking at those different network deployment models and how we can actually do that effectively. We're going to be looking at where we can share infrastructure. We don't want to clutter the countryside and our cities with more and more digital infrastructure. So we're looking at how we can share infrastructure like masts and radios, but also spectrum. We are being encouraged very much by Ofcom to look at how spectrum can be shared as well. And all that is going to need to be done in coordination with our integrated national transport strategy, the cross-government industrial strategies, which has data and technology as a really big element of that, and our infrastructure strategy again, which has data and technology as an integral part. So I'm here for the rest of today and this evening. If you want to talk to me, please do. I can't do this alone. It's such a big system, and it's really going to need people to sort of play their part and to be willing to engage so that we can deliver a transport plan that is ambitious and that works for the industry, it works for transport, it works for all of our different modes. But it's a big task. So please, do come and talk to me today if you've got anything that you think you can add to that. Thank you.